So what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
All right.
Hello.
Hey. You like celebrating Arizona?
Well, who doesn't want to celebrate Arizona?
Whoever it is, we probably don't want them to know us, or at least...
The answer being Californians in June and July.
Oh, God, yes. Because then we are the zonies,
yes,
and 20% of us descend on them and don't understand merging and, buy lousy souvenirs.
on the beaches, nowhere to walk. Yeah.
It would be interesting if there was a circle. Canadians drive some Arizona's crazy in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
And then we drive California crazy in the summer.
In the summer.
If Californians were to drive Canadians crazy in the spring or something, but I don't think I don't think it's a closed triangle.
That would be funny. Moving the cycle of crazy around the continent.
Yeah.
That would be very funny.
It would.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah. Oh, funny. Yeah. But back to celebrating Arizona, which we are happy to do.
Yes. Yeah, we will not be going to California. We're not. No truck with the I-10 heading west today.
No, we'll stay within the state lines.
Shall I tell you where I'll take us?
Please.
I will take us to 89A between Sedona and Flagstaff.
Okay.
And appropriately for my topic, which is the switchbacks, because so mom grew up in Winslow, dad grew up in Sedona, they met in Flagstaff. So Sedona, Flagstaff, Winslow were kind of the places we always went. Mm-hmm. And therefore the switchbacks were a frequent reference to, we're going to go down the switchbacks, we're going to take the switchbacks. And I thought that 89A from Fort Tuthill to city limits of Sedona were the switchbacks. And it probably was an embarrassingly few years ago that Larry, as was his wont, very gently and mildly said, the switchbacks are just these 8 or 9 hairpin turns at the kind of the top of 89A. And I felt like a right fool, not that he meant for me to do so, obviously, but I thought, oh, okay, switchback. All right, fine. Okay. So I still think of 89A as the switchbacks, but I understand it's not. And this is sort of a Julie story, and you can tell me when I'm done if you agree, because in a way it's a very small thing, but it had a point. There was a takeaway, so we will see if you think that passes the Julie test. And actually sort of 2 points. The first one is, and I think of it often when I'm taking the switchback. So basically we're talking around maybe Pump House Wash or a little bit farther south if you're heading up the switchbacks toward Flagstaff. West Fork area on up, maybe, to where it sort of levels out. And this was 1989, and Mike Schmidt and I, or Jeremiah and I, depending on which name he's going by, I called him Jeremiah for Jeremiah Johnson, big, blonde, bearded guy. So I still call him Jeremiah. So we were new to the Bureau, and they wanted some fall leaves, and there weren't many fall leaves yet. We took the Bureau Bronco, and we were heading back from somewhere south. We pulled off, and he found a section of creek, and he found some leaves. He was shooting video of them rustling. He had to shoot tight because there weren't many, but by being good at it, he could make it look like more than it was. And I was standing, and I was looking at the creek just eddying by, drifting, just not imperceptibly, but not very perceptibly. It was a very mild little section. And then the occasional tiny aspen leaf floating down the current. And in a job where we hit the ground running, terrified we were already late and going to fail every single day because we were so rabidly desperate to prove ourselves worthy, it was a moment of actual being in the present. And I watched those leaves and I smelled those wonderful sycamores and felt the damp kind of boing of the pad of fall decaying leaves by the creek. And I thought, I work here. Yeah. I am getting paid right now to stand by Oak Creek and smell and see. And I just remember looking at the leaves thinking, if I die right now, I will have been the luckiest woman ever to draw breath. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. And now we're going to fast forward to just maybe 2 years ago when I was again working in Northern Arizona, now Health First Foundation, Northern Arizona. And at the end of the day, I'd drive up to Flag and spend the night with Rye at our rented house. And so usually 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock, I was heading north. Well, they were doing major road work at that time. And so that was, if you were coming south, you stopped when you were afraid somebody was going to whip around that corner and rear end you. But if you were heading north, there was a pretty good stretch where you could see, okay, we're going to stop. And generally, I was there for 14 to 18 minutes. I think the longest you could be there was probably 18. And I usually hit it. But unusually for me, because as I think you know, I'm all about, I confess, sometimes it's about the destination, not the journey. I really don't want to dither and waste time. And usually road work is anathema. But in this case, because the place was so beautiful, and I was done for the day, there was no pressure. I didn't have to make a 5 o'clock show. I didn't have any appointments. And I would sometimes open the moonroof, and I would always open all the windows because it's never that uncomfortable in Oak Creek, that high up. And I would be there. And I would look at the branches and frequently take their picture and sometimes get out and walk around a little bit. But I loved it. I loved being there, even though it was road construction. And it reminded me of a guy my mom heard talk, Lou Lasansi, who said, there have been many beautiful moments in my life, and I missed most of them. And yes. I realized the common thread is that those 2 times, I did not miss them. I was there for them. I was present to them. And those are just lovely, lovely, lovely little bits of the switchbacks. And may there be another.
I wish, so the thing about beautiful moments, I wish we could wear them like jewelry, in the sense that, wouldn't it be cool if they were things that people could see about us a little the way they did, you know, like what we accessorize with, like that would be so cool. And at the same time as I say that, we notice jewelry usually on ourselves a lot less than we notice it on others. And so I don't know if we would appreciate it as much as somebody else would, but that would just be, I think that would be such a neat thing to be able to do. And probably someday we can all walk around with projected images as a halo around ourselves or something. But
wouldn't that be wild?
Wouldn't that be
Today
cool?
I'm going to have West Fork.
Yeah,
today I'm going to have winning an Emmy. Today I'm going to have...
Yeah, this is my favorite places mosaic. This is my most loving moments mosaic that just sort of travels with me. Yeah.
And I suppose essentially compared to 150 years ago, when you had to just write a letter in longhand and it was in black and white, Facebook and Instagram are kind of what you're talking about.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Just not quite as around our heads in a thought bubble. But we curate the images that we share.
That's
and
very
your
true.
Profile picture and your background photo are kind of like that, aren't they?
That's true. And in your case, I think part of what you should wear in your halo or crown is your vocabulary, because I was taking note that in this one story we had eddying, dither, and anathema, which are words which are words I can think of almost no one else would use in daily conversation. Yeah. And I think that, that would be very fun too. And maybe only for writers, just to know, like these here are the words I'm capable of that I often use.
Today I used anathema in a sentence. What have you got?
Oh, Lord. Oh, I can just imagine the words that would come up. So,
oh, that's very sweet of you. Well, and of course, I instantly think of Lair. Can I share that one great anecdote about him and his words?
Just the
because
one?
just the one.
They are
Yeah.
all the great anecdotes
Okay.
about
You're
Heidiger's
so
words.
kind.
Please go ahead.
So John Lineberger and I are in Larry's office. We were all at K-Gun TV in Tucson, and John and I were headed out for a story. And Larry had used to say nice things about word use and, oh, you're a wordsmith, blah, blah, blah. So I make a reference to somebody, probably someone I had dated, and Lineberger, who knew me pretty well but wasn't familiar with the name, said, who? And without a pause, Larry said, just one of the spent and lifeless husks, bobbing among the flotsam and jetsam of Lisa's life, until he too shall become supersaturated and sink. Mic drop.
No kidding. Wow.
And I said, you wonder where I learned to use my words? Do you realize what you just came out with? And it was effortless. There was no,
immediate. Yeah.
Yeah. But you also, I hope, remember, and I have it here in my study, the sheet of recycled paper on which he began writing down, I swear to God, in 6-point type, how the man could do it, legally blind in one eye, I don't know. But the lines in Barbed, your memoir, that grabbed him. And he wrote, painstakingly, page 12, page 22.
I remember that.
And then
I think
ran out of space and had to turn it over where the printing was and write between the lines, because there were even more than he had begun to think he would want you to know he appreciated. So the Mutual Wordsmith Admiration Society.
Wow. I knew that was an honor. I didn't know that it was on Olympic scale. Oh, wow.
Olympic scale.
Seriously. Wow. Well, okay. Well, so these are and I have nowhere to go with that now because being complimented for my words, I'm now out of them.
Let's let you bask a minute and we'll come back and then you'll talk to us.
Excellent idea. Thank you.
We are proud to welcome our newest sponsor, Discover Flagstaff. They run the Flagstaff Visitors Center, the old train depot, which has been recognized by Phoenix Magazine as the best visitor center in the state. They have a really good staff. They have a wonderful gift shop. People there will help you plan itineraries. And there's a coin-operated model train that is billed as great for the kids, but I've seen a lot of adults who enjoy it too. Stop by the Flagstaff Visitor Center. Do you have some words for us?
Okay, we're back. And I do have words because I can talk about something other than me.
Okay.
So
first of all, direct us from 89A.
Yes, so from 89A, we are headed south and east of where you are. And we are headed to Highway 83 between I-10 and Sonoita, Arizona. So we are in very southeast Arizona, and specifically Highway 83, because this is a place where you have something of what I will call the Flagstaff effect, where people not from Arizona who find themselves in Flagstaff or Highway 83 or places like this sort of, keep looking around saying, I had no idea Arizona could be like this. And sometime, and I would love to know sometime what the frequency of I had no idea utterances is per mile in the Grand Canyon State, because I'm guessing it is larger, higher than any other state in the lower 48. Hawaii and Alaska,
right.
Maybe more. But in Arizona, there is just so much beside the cliched golf course or
Sora.
arid nut. Yes, that I'm guessing that we get a lot of those.
Now, just for people who have not been fortunate enough to drive it, or maybe lately, take us to 80. Show us what you're looking at.
Yep. So the thing about Highway 83 is that it is about you are on your way up, actually, in elevation. And it is gentle and rolling and recurring hills and grasslands that emerge on either side of you. And it starts, I mean, and you suddenly find yourself wishing you were some kind of forage eating creature, because there are all of these, because the grass looks so lush and lovely, and there is so much green all around you. And it is simply open green. There are not, I mean, there are some fence lines, but you're not seeing many properties. You're not seeing a town yet. You have this corridor of just uniquely enchanting landscape. And then it gets you, and this is also what takes you into part of Southern Arizona's wine country. As you climb in Arizona, whether you are climbing on I-17 out of onto the rim or onto the plateau just south of the rim, or whether you're climbing into, this, it ends up, this wine country right around Sonoita is between, 4,500 and 5,000 feet. So, whether you're climbing there, you're going through landscapes that feel, I think, like daydreams.
Well, that's interesting. I was going to say like someplace else, but you are the poet and then said daydreams instead. That's much nicer.
Yeah.
And climbing, I guess, is always good news in Arizona because it means we're going to be cooler now.
It's going to be cooler. Yeah, no kidding. Yes, unless you are living in Flagstaff in January. And
although some of us love that too.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
On the fourth day that you haven't seen the sun, although in Flagstaff it's only the fourth day, right? Like it doesn't stretch to the 24th.
No, do you know when I lived there, I never went more than like 48 hours ever.
Yeah,
and I was always amazed that I felt like I remember when we used to see the sun after about hour 38.
Yeah.
And it would always be back. It was prompt and swift, and that's why I could live there, I think, happily. But I do take your point that once in a while you like to get a little bit warm.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, this is also the beauty of climbing. And you feel that way on Mount Lemmon too, outside of Tucson.
So.
I mean, and that spoiler alert, I'm going to need to go to Mount Lemmon sometime soon in this show. Yeah. But for now, we went to 83. And it is, and I would say that it is the perfect patch of road to sing along to a musical, because it is just that ethereal of feeling. Yes.
Okay, so now I have to tell you Michael Riley's favorite story.
Okay.
When Julie Andrews is doing the opening to Sound of Music.
Yes.
And you hear her and see her come running through that grassland, that meadow. He had read, and this just stayed with him. And now when you said that, I thought of this. It was a helicopter shot. This was pre-drone. And the updraft, as the chopper cleared, knocked her down.
Oh my gosh.
Over and over and over and over. So she described somewhere having to still look like I'm just having so much fun racing through this, knowing I'm about to get slammed.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. That's earning your acting chops, isn't it?
And didn't she win the Academy Award for Mary Poppins and not for that one?
I don't remember. But if she did, there should be a special award for
seriously.
Yeah, special effect endurance.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
Well, we've strayed a little here, but Coffee Mug of the Day, which will be on the website as always, is from Coffee Pot Cafe in Sedona.
Yes.
There were several iterations of it, and this is, in my collection, the middle iteration, where they had them and it looked like glaze was running down the side and was like flash frozen in time. So the top, this beautiful cream, and then this kind of opalescent, iridescent rainbow thing above the black. One of my favorite mugs.
Beautiful.
And they have since reissued. Now they are in phase 3 of the Coffee Pot Cafe. And I'm proud to say I own all 3. But let's break and we'll come back and read.
Very good.
Oh, and ask a question.
And a question, yes.
Okay.
Yes, good.
We have a second new sponsor, the Coogan and Martin Law Firm in Tubac. One more reason to love Tubac. Such a charming little city, and it has a law firm that truly meets every need An attorney can provide real estate transactions, wills and probate, agricultural law, international transactions. They have worked together for decades. They are salt of the earth, brilliant people, and I cannot recommend Coogan and Martin more highly. Julie,
Yes.
you want to answer a question?
Sure, Lisa. What is your question?
Okay, now you're infantilizing. But you're right, that sounded really contrived. And of course, to all our podcast friends, we would
And
love
wait a
to know
minute,
your
wait,
answer.
infantilizing? Like, here's another one.
Okay, now that's a Sedona word. She gave me that one. I don't know infantilizing.
Okay,
But
all right, but still.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
a Sedona word. The question, anyway, and we want your answer, and then anyone else's. What's something you're proud you can do?
Oh, we've talked about this, and pride is something that isn't such a friend to me, like acculturated in many different ways to, stay well away from that, a little.
What's something you're
Yeah.
glad that you can do? Let's rephrase.
Yeah. But
Let's rephrase, Your Honor. What's something you're glad you can do?
Yeah, but I suppose I'm very glad I can sing, and I suppose I can be proud of the fact that I can sing in front of people, whether it's just to illustrate a song, or as kind of a gift, or as a choir performance, or whatever it is. um I have enough comfort with sort of the stage to be able to sing in front of people.
So are you going to
Yes.
favor us with a little number here?
Not at all.
But you see why I would ask.
Because what I don't do well is improv.
Okay.
Yeah, so I need a little preparation time.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
I think this is how like a professional performer from a rank amateur, is that you ask somebody to sing a song and they go, I don't know any. And then, because in that moment, like, they're all gone, right?
Oh, yeah,
Whereas,
yeah. What do you want for your birthday? Well, now
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I
but
understand that.
maybe sometime.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
And we
can-
could do it together because you sing too.
Well,
I happen
true.
to know.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's a conversation for another day. But no, that's a great answer. Thank you. I like that.
What is your answer?
Well, it's not nearly as practical, but I didn't know that we all couldn't do it for a really, really, really long time. And that is that I can write backwards in cursive. So
Wow.
it's like mirror writing, I guess.
So if you were to write your name, you could write the A and then the S, and
So
then...
no, I would write, and I am right now, Lisa, just backwards in cursive. It's as easy as writing it frontwards in cursive. So now, because we're flopped,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's
the
mirror
mirror.
writing.
Not,
Yeah.
not, oh, okay. Not backwards, starting on the,
Right.
Yeah,
No,
but,
yeah.
but the mirror, wow.
So there it is, regular written. and there it is.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to have to screenshot that and put it up, because that's,
I thought
wow.
we could all do that.
No,
Okay.
that's incredible. Wow. You could do your own cipher.
Yeah, well, as long as my enemies don't have a mirror, I'm golden.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Good point. And so nobody's hiring me anytime soon for espionage ideas. Okay, that's funny. Oh my
We'll keep our day
goodness.
jobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Funny. Okay.
Well, and speaking of, then, you're such a good writer. Do you have something to read to us?
I have something to read, yes, and it is based on that feeling that I get on Highway 83.
Okay.
And it is a poem that is a formal poem, which means that it is written in a form. And the joke among poets, which is admittedly not funny, is that you don't go anywhere in a villanelle. It's sort of a way of, it's a more meditative form. And so if it feels like I'm saying a lot of the same thing over and over, it's because some of the lines repeat,
Okay.
and because the point is to sort of cycle with something for a while.
Okay.
Just
So there is
sit
a
with it
meditative
and-
aspect to it.
Yeah. Or well, like, here's hoping. If it
Okay.
drives you screaming from the room, then we'll say no. But that's the intent.
All right.
Okay. So
Ready.
with all of that, this is called a place apart. In places as moments and measures of time, soul breathes in spaces humming with song, apart from strain's rasp, a part of joy's rhyme. Eyes and heart forward, burdens behind, peace as panorama, nothing short, and held long, in places as moments and measures of time. Enough as a guide, more made a mime. Bad company rest stopped. What next good is gone, apart from strain's rasp, a part of joy's rhyme. Rising horizon, hope just a hill climb, right just up ahead, no way to be wrong, in places as moments and measures of time. Worry lulled to sleep, wonder backseat drives, daydreams laughing stream, road tripping along, apart from strain's rasp, a part of joy's rhyme. Like looking into a carillion's mass chime, not deserved nor discovered, grace, period, prolonged, in places as moments and measures of time, apart from strain's rasp, a part of joy's rhyme.
That's like a collar crocheted in gold thread.
What an image.
That is, well, that's what I saw. Wow.
Mm.
That is elegant, delicate, gossamer, intricate work. And that's definitely
Gossamer people.
That's definitely one I'm
Meet
gonna
Lisa.
I'm gonna have to see on a page, because the patterns were there and they were beautiful, and then I would have lost them by the time they came around again. So that's one I'll have to look at. But it's on our website, so I can do that. Celebratingaz.com.
That's right. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, I like those.
Villanelle.
Thank you for indulging me.
Oh,
yeah.
That was not work. Believe me, that's fun. That's fun. Neat.
Okay. And so where are you reading from today?
Well, now I feel plain spoken to the level of yep and nope. But this is, I think this came out of, I know it came out of a piece from She Feel a Horse Lives On. And it was a Schnebly Hill Road piece. But it's talking about T.C. Schnebly, my great-grandpa, Larry's grandpa, Sedona's husband, somebody's son. But I guess the idea of roads in the Oak Creek area is what got me here. So we're coming in kind of in the middle. In our family, TC's legacy includes the bromide, count the day lost, you don't draw blood.
Wow.
I explained to a child staring horrified at a fresh scrape that TC meant you were at least doing something fun or useful instead of sitting around. The most evocative TC story tells of when a hailstorm flattened the crops in Boyero, Colorado. While his family sat, stunned and fearful, in the kitchen, contemplating the dire financial consequence of the battered fields, TC walked in and looked around at the doleful faces. Well, let's not just sit here, he urged. Get some buckets. We're going to collect that hail and make ice cream.
Oh my gosh.
My father adored his grandpa and remembers him as an affectionate, encouraging, independent presence. TC was a man of graciousness and grit. He extended himself to those he loved and those he had never met before. A dawn to dusk worker, he measured his life in conversations, not dollars. Mm-hmm. The headstone in the Pioneer Cemetery says about TC, he lives on in Schnebly Hill. It's a good legacy. The road is basic and without frills, but if you're willing to put in the work, the payoff is in the driving skills and the view. If you decide to hike there, you may even get to draw blood. So that's what
to measure your life in conversations. Oh, wonderful. Yes.
Not dollars, boy.
No.
That guy had no skill at money making, but boy, could he converse.
And what a characterization. I mean, and that was yours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because he wouldn't have said that about himself.
No, God, I don't think he would have said
No.
anything about himself.
Yeah.
I think he would have
Right.
shucked and hawed and looked down and rubbed his hands briskly together and said
I swan.
something.
Yes.
Wonder if he ever said I swan. All right, my dear.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye for now.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatton. And I'm Dana Cooper.